The studio behind the third-person shooter franchise Siphon Filter, the PSP entry in the Resistance series, as well as Uncharted Golden Abyss for the PS Vita, Sony Bend, has for 6 years now been working on their biggest project yet, an open-world, action, survival title exclusive to the PS4. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the GameGround everything you should know about Days Gone. The game is set in Central Oregon, in the Pacific Northwest. While you won't get to visit any larger urban areas, the region does have a diverse geography and climate. The weather in Days Gone is dynamic, and as you'd expect from an open-world game, the time of day is as well. Speaking of time, it is set just 2 years after the outbreak. This means that batteries in cars still have some charge and buildings aren't overgrown yet. Unlike in, for instance, The Last of Us, which is set 20 years after the apocalypse. You'll have to play through the story to find out what caused the outbreak. Nonetheless, its result is that the game world is full of these zombie-like creatures called Freakers. Bend is aiming for realism in Days Gone. As a result, Freakers are not dead. They're alive and they have needs. They eat, they drink, and they sleep. They interact with each other, and sometimes they also eat each other. Any gunshot wound can kill them, not just a headshot. Headshots, in fact, aren't even the best option, as the ears of Freakers are used as a currency in encampments. You'll encounter Freakers in small groups, in larger swarms, or in even bigger hordes, which are one of the flagship features of the game. Hordes consist of hundreds of Freakers, and taking on them will of course be an activity in the game. You'll often find hordes at the so-called NERO gravesites. National Emergency Response Organization, or NERO, was a government institution that used these spots to burn the dead. Therefore, there always are a few gas barrels to shoot at these burial sites, which will come in handy when dealing with the horde.
Come on, come on!
You might not be able to tell from this footage, but there are a few kinds of Freakers, and each type needs to be approached differently. The people who get infected as teenagers are now newts. They are scared of other Freakers and even of you, so they will usually leave you alone. The most common Freakers are Swarmers, the adult ones, while Screamers are female infected whose screams bring in more Freakers. And then there are Breakers, the ones that will make you want to break your DualShock 4. Apart from people, animals get infected too. You'll come across infected crows, criers, infected wolves that are called runners because they're capable of outrunning your bike, and rager bears. There's also non-infected wildlife, which you can hunt, and you can then bring the meat to an encampment to make the faction trust you more. You will not want to bring it to the Rest in Peace cult, aka the Rippers, though, who will be your main human enemies. They are crazy folks who believe that the fact that the outbreak happened is amazing, they worship Freakers, and they like to mutilate their own bodies with scars and burns.
You must be brought low by command, for you are lost, and we are found.
The world of Days Gone is always unsafe. You don't have to seek danger, it comes for you. Even when you are off mission, traversing or exploring the environments, infected animals will attack you, and swarms of Freakers will get in your way. The Freakers are stronger when it rains or snows, and at night. The day is equally dangerous, however, due to marauders. They will try to steal your stuff by ambushing you using clothesline traps that will knock you off your bike, sniper fire, or fake roadblocks.
Hold on, something's blocking the road. Careful. I saw a setup like this a couple days ago. A bunch of rippers blocked the road with an old truck.
The frequency of the ambushes can be lowered by clearing out enemy camps. That said, Days Gone features dynamic ecosystems, meaning that when you eliminate an enemy camp, the bodies might become freakers, which will actually make the probability of you getting attacked by a group of the infected higher. All of these threats I mentioned are random, dynamic events you'll have to deal with. We have seen something similar in games like Far Cry or Red Dead, but the dynamic events will be far more common, far more challenging and sophisticated in Days Gone. The game world is divided into 6 regions, filled with Nero checkpoints and survival camps. The camps are protected by traps. Survivals use freakers chained to trees and tin cans as alarms, and they put up meat walls. Freakers like to eat corpses, so people hang a bunch of bodies upside down near their camp to slow down the infected. There tends to be a bear trap underneath the meat wall, but if you're thoughtful, you can use all of the traps in your favor. You can't make a video titled Everything You Should Know About Days Gone without mentioning the technology behind it. So, it will run at 30 frames per second, it will support HDR, and it will kind of run in 4K on the PS4 Pro, but it will be a dynamic 4K using checkerboard rendering. What's interesting is that while virtually every other first-party PlayStation exclusive is running on a first-party Sony engine, for example Naughty Dog games run on the Naughty Dog engine, Horizon Zero Dawn and Death Stranding use Guerrilla's Decima engine and so on, Days Gone utilizes Epic's Unreal Engine 4, used by many titles across the industry, including Gears 5, Kingdom Hearts 3, and Fortnite. Another game running on Unreal Engine 4 is State of Decay 2. As a matter of fact, State of Decay is probably the closest comparison to Days Gone. Unlike that game though, Days Gone does feature a full-fledged story and is narrative-driven. You play as Deacon St. John, a member of the Mongrels Motorcycle Club and now a bounty hunter and a mercenary. He's described as being broken, having lost a lot, including his wife, Sarah Whitaker, a botanist from Seattle who died before the events of the game. Nonetheless, we will get to see how that happened through playable flashbacks. Deke is now a lone wolf, but he does have one good friend, William Boozer Gray, who's both a member of the same MC and also a bounty hunter. Days Gone will be no Detroit Become Human. Regardless, it does have multiple endings. You will have to make a few decisions throughout the game.
You said you would make it quick. Do it!
And your choices will have an influence on the story.
No. Oh, please, you
Deke.
said...
Let's go.
I wasn't gonna leave him to them. I don't give a shit what he's done.
Inspired by The Walking Dead, Sons of Anarchy, and Red Dead Redemption, Days Gone will be a single-player only experience. No competitive multiplayer, no co-op. It will take you around 30 hours to beat, and it will not be an easy game. That's not only due to the fact that you'll never be safe in this world, but also because there'll be few tutorials. Sony Bend wants you to discover how the game mechanics work. There's no option to play the game on an easy setting either. There'll only be one difficulty. The developers are thinking about adding a harder survival mode though. One of the things that will help you remain alive is Deacon's crafting skills. You'll be making Molotov cocktails, you'll be able to make a bomb from an airbag, and a suppressor from an oil filter. Cars thus can be searched, and they will often contain useful items, especially police cars and ambulances. You can't drive cars, but you wouldn't really want to anyway. The roads are broken due to the often changing weather, they're blocked with vehicles, and the majority of bridges was blown up after the outbreak to stop freakers. For those reasons, bikes are much more practical than cars in the game world. Having said that, Deacon's motorcycle, called the Drifter Bike, is not just a method of transportation. It could be considered a character on its own. That's because whereas in other games, vehicles are disposable, in Days Gone you'll only have one precious bike. If you lose it, you'll either have to go find it, or you can pay someone in the encampment to find it for you. You'll have to take care of the bike. it has to be fueled, and if you want to survive the dangers of the world, you're gonna need to upgrade the engine and perhaps equip it with nitro, or make it quieter by upgrading the muffler. In addition to its components being upgradable, you'll also be able to customize its looks. You can't change Deacon's looks, nor clothes though. His abilities, like the survival vision that lets you see tracks and events that might have happened, will be upgradable however. Fully upgraded survival vision will show you valuable resources as well as enemies. There's actually a robust skill tree with other skills to obtain an upgrade, including slow motion aiming. That is how you'll use your experience points gained by, for example, doing stunts on the bike, killing enemies, or completing missions. Regarding missions, you'll choose your own approach, stealthy or loud, and the time of day and the weather will have an impact on the gameplay. These factors affect the behavior of your enemies, both human and infected, the handling of the bike, as well as the kinds of dynamic events that take place. Except for doing missions, you'll likely spend the most time scavenging. In addition to cars, you'll be able to search houses and other buildings. In fact, Sony Bend claims you'll be able to enter 99% of interiors in the game. As for weapons, besides the common suspects, you'll be using a crossbow with different kinds of bolts. There will be a standard inventory, but the bike's saddlebags can be used to store equipment and resources too. The most powerful weapon will not be the crossbow or a gun, however, but freakers. For instance, here we see a swarm lured into an enemy camp. But the bigger hordes can be weaponized as well. Something about freakers I haven't yet mentioned are freaker nests. It's where they sleep during the day. The nests matter to you, the player, because by clearing one out, you unlock a fast travel point. And that is the gameplay of Days Gone. Coming exclusively to PlayStation 4 on April 26, 2019, Days Gone will be available in Standard, Digital Deluxe, Special, and of course, Collector's Edition. It is fun to look back. In 2012, Sony Bend had 50 employees, and they were working on a small, digital-only card game for the PS Vita. Today, Bend has 130 employees, and they're working on a AAA open-world game running in 4K on the PS4 Pro. I can't wait to see what they'll be working on in a few years. And this has been GameGround. See you around.